All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Tiana. I am the marketing director here at Thank Me Later, and Jini will be joining us later today. She's spending some much needed time with her family in Austin. So she will be joining us in a little bit, but we have some of her wisdom sprinkled throughout our session today so that you can get her money coaching part of the mindfulness. But super excited to introduce Carolyn Rogers of Neat Nerd Solutions. So Carolyn is an engineer, a software engineer.
Yes.
Amazing. Come on, girls in STEM. And
Right.
she's also a professional organizer. So Carolyn, if you want to talk a little bit, tell us a bit about yourself and your professional organizing business.
Okay. I am, let's see where to start. I am originally from Indiana. I've been in Georgia for probably since 1999. I started organizing officially in 2015, but I always tell people I've been organizing my brother since I was 12. So I was one of the kid that always got, wanted to do something for a little bit of money. So my brother had a job. So and I'm still organizing him now periodically. My background is electrical engineering, but I've been doing software for pretty much the last 20 years as well. I am still an engineer. Organizing is a serious side gig. What I'll call it. It's a serious side gig. I take it serious because I know that what it means to the people that I work with. So I don't treat it like it's not significant. Like it's important to people, so it's important to me. And I just love it. It's like solving a puzzle. I like doing that. It's very different. I actually find it relaxing.
Whew, I don't think that's a word that most of us are going to associate with it. So I'm glad you're about to bring this relaxing, calming energy to this topic that a lot of people, myself included, are like, oh, can I hide? All right, ladies. So today we are going to get into the right mindset to approach our March Thank Me Later topic. And I will share my screen so that we can kind of walk through the presentation, high level presentation, so that it is informative, but there definitely will be an opportunity for questions towards the end. So if you have any, feel free to drop them in the chat throughout, or you can save them for the Q&A towards the end and take yourself off of mute too. But feel free to drop them in the chat if you have specific questions for Carolyn about organization. And we'll talk a bit about this, like our format for the rest of the month when we dive in. But to kind of let you know, this first session is about mindfulness, again, the mindset that we need to do the work. And then next week, we're going to like get our hands dirty, y'all. Like we might get paper cuts. Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot. So that's when we're going to actually do the work, do the tactical strategies that Carolyn will coach us through. But today we're kind of just like, let's assess where we are. Let's acknowledge how we feel about organization so that we can actually take action and have true change. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of the different sessions this month. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. And we'll dive on in. So today we're going to talk about how to organize your way to financial success. And again, I'm Tiana, and we'll introduce Carolyn, and Jini will be joining later. But just real quick, if you're new to the Thank Me Later community, just a little bit about Thank Me Later. So Thank Me Later is a financial literacy brand that empowers Black women to confidently take control of their money and prepare for life events. And we do that through member programming like this, through our Thank Me Later Real Life series, where we address different situations that you may find yourself in, like what to do if a loved one passes away or what to do if you get in a car accident. So we'll walk you through what to do in those situations. And then we have content in our Mighty Networks community, which you all are a part of, as you have to be a part of the community to get this link. So glad you're here. So what do you need for this money mindset masterclass? So the first two things are the most important. You need an open mind and you need self-awareness. And we'll have some prompts through a tool we use called Mentimeter. So you will need your cell phone, but those prompts are to get you to assess where you are so that you know how you need to take action, because everybody are on has different feelings about organization and all the topics that we cover in Thank Me Later. So we want you to assess where you are so you know how you need to move forward. And then you'll also need the March download, the Thank Me Later download. So each month we have a download that is going to guide you through whatever that topic is. So last month was about taxes, so we had a tax download. This month is about organization, so we have an organization download. So that is available in the community, and Lauren will drop it in the chat as well. So let's all like roll our shoulders back. Take a deep breath. Okay, we're about to settle in and get started. So real quick, this is the Thank Me Later money calendar. So again, every month we focus on a different topic. So these are the main areas that Jini saw as the most needed to help you with your financial life. And so when she created this system, this is where we landed. So we did goal setting in January, taxes, career, and business in February, and now we're doing if you guys can mute your phones and computers. So the goal of this Money Mindset Masterclass is to really hone in on what keeps us unorganized and the system that we need to develop in order to live our best organized life. And Carolyn will walk us through what does a paper management system mean and how to create one. We also want to discuss the correlation between organization and financial success, in case you don't really understand how the two come together, and to give you some real examples. And then we also want to address the physical, mental, and emotional barriers that might be blocking you and how to overcome them. Because if you don't know what's blocking you or what's keeping you, if you don't know why you're procrastinating in an area, you may not know how to move forward. So we really want to address that today. So that's our goal for today. And okay, let's start off with a Mentimeter question. So first, we want to talk about, how does organizing make you feel? And I'm going to pull up Mentimeter. So you want to go to minty.com on your phone and use this code 1255831. So I'm going to do it as well. And pretty much as everyone goes to minty.com, it might be a little covered right here, but it's minty.com. And everybody goes, we'll start seeing the responses trickle in so that we can see how we feel about this question. So the question is, how does organizing your paper and digital files make you feel? So I'm about to go to minty.com. You guys can too. Oh, is that you, Carolyn? I said excited.
Who, me? Maybe.
Maybe that was Carolyn that said she's excited. We got some anxious, productive. I feel productive. I feel a little overwhelmed myself. All right. So I just did mine. We have a lot of folks feeling productive about this. That's exciting. Some overwhelmed. That was me. We have a few folks feeling a little anxious, excited.
I got two excited people with me. Yay.
Hey, look, that's awesome. All right, so we'll let a few more come through. Thank you guys for engaging with Minty. It's always fun to kind of see where people fall, and also I think it's awesome to see how much we have in common with each other. Like, we all feel productive about this, or ooh, there's a lot of us feeling a little overwhelmed. So thank you guys for sharing that. We'll have some more Minty questions, so keep your phones out. So diving into the next part of our session. So wanted to share a post that we shared on social media from Jini, since she's not here for this first part, but to kind of share how she's been feeling about organizing, as this is one of her goals, and to see how she's working through, to kind of give you guys an idea of what you can do.
This is my day one of organization confessions. I have to admit, I have a little anxiety. My chest is a little tight, like physically my chest is tight. So I'm just kind of feeling like it's time. So we have these piles. We have a shred pile, a recycle pile, and we're literally putting a plan together by physical drawer. We are creating a new system of how mail comes in for me, work and personal. That way we can, right from the beginning, be strategic. The other thing that we're doing is we have a scheduled meeting time every Wednesday now. She's literally putting it in my calendar right now, where we're going to meet about it so we can stay on track.
All right. So that was a few of the, I'll stop sharing so we can kind of briefly talk about that. A few of, Jani's experience. And what I took away from that is she had accountability, and we'll talk through how to kind of overcome some barriers. But, and Carolyn, would love to hear if you can you guys hear? I saw someone say that they can't hear. So from that, I took away that, the importance of accountability, the importance of scheduling time to do this work, the importance of having a system.
Yes.
So those are some of the things I took away. What about you, Carolyn? Was there anything that you found as helpful on Jani's paper confessions?
I think that I was very glad to hear the things that she's laid out to do. Just like you say, having some type of accountability, because sometimes we need someone else to remind us. Oftentimes we can't rely on ourselves. I always cut myself a little bit of slack on things. So it's nice to have someone else say, hey, Carolyn, did you? Or did you remember to? That she has a regular schedule for it, which tells me also is that she's not trying to bite off too much at one time, which can increase the level of stress. One thing that we have to remember is that most times when we're in a cluttered situation, but whether it's paper or anything else, it takes us time to get there. So you shouldn't expect to do it overnight. And that she's gathering her materials together that for what she wants in her system. So, and the sorting is always important at any level of organization. So I was glad to everything she said. I was glad to hear.
Yes. And I will say, I think she recorded that after we had our first initial call with you. So you gave some gems that she was able to implement right away.
Awesome.
And Lauren and I went in her office a couple of weeks ago. We're like, it looks so good in here. So
nice.
Definitely see the impact and the peace of mind that one can have when they organize their space.
Yes. I think that especially, organizing is important for the sake of removing stress. And a lot of times I think we underestimate the true effects of stress. Stress can have an impact on our health. There are some ties to stress to like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and things like that. And that it takes away pretty much from our lives. Literally, it's taken away from your life. So being able to manage that is very important.
That's so true. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. We're going to hop into another Minty question. All right, so again, go into minty.com, or you probably can stay where you were, and you should be able to see this new question. Have you experienced the pain of the following? So it's a little small, so I'll read them. So struggling to find important documents like your birth certificate or social security card while in a hurry, being stressed during tax season because your documents are all over the place, not getting approved on a loan for your business or even for like a house because you can't find important paperwork, feeling defeated about helping your child apply for scholarships because you can't find information needed for the FAFSA, or you should be able to choose more than one, hopefully. Feeling overwhelmed at the clutter of papers tucked away in a corner near your desk. So engage with those. Yes, you should be able to choose multiple options. So if I'm being honest with myself, I'll put myself on the spot. The tax season one is a bit triggering for me. That's the one I have struggled with the most. And then I will say feeling overwhelmed of the paper around my desk. So those ones are mine. I see a lot of other people feeling overwhelmed with the physical clutter that having a lot of papers around your area. Have some other folks are like me, feeling stressed about tax season, not having your stuff together, not being able to find important documents. So we're kind of in the same boat. Some folks have not dealt with the middle two. That's good. We're going to push through those others. All right. Thank you guys for your feedback on that. And now we will talk briefly about the correlation between organization and financial success. And we have a clip from Jini to kind of make the correlation. So we're going to listen to that and then we'll talk about it.
How important it is even to be organized to pay your bills on time so you're not paying late, being subjected to late fees and impacting your credit. You own a business, you need any sort of loan. You have to have access to your important documents. Being able to get your hands on stuff very quickly, is critical to certain financial transactions. And it also tells any lender a lot about you. If you can be on the phone with a lender and they send you a link and you can start uploading your stuff in an hour or less versus it takes you 2 weeks, we have already made decisions about you. How important it is even to be organized to pay your bills on time so you're not paying late,
let me pause
being subjected to late.
So I thought that was a very helpful clip. That was from a conversation that we had with Jini earlier today, Lauren and I. And what I took away from that, I was able to see myself in a lot of situations. So again, I keep telling my tax struggles, but last year taxes was a very challenging season for me. And fortunately, the person that was doing my taxes was a family relative. But I think if it was anybody else, they would have had a problem because I was piecemealing things together. It was a hot mess. And so I could definitely, learn from my experience. And so curious to you, Carolyn, what are there anything else that you think is a connection to organization and financial success that you've seen or done
one thing that I've seen is that amongst a lot of my clients is that as far as how it touches their finances, especially something that you don't think about, is that they often buy the same stuff over and over again. They waste money buying the same thing over and over again because either they couldn't find it or they didn't know that they already had it, or that they waste money on things that they couldn't reach, they couldn't get to it. So it expired, especially if it was in terms of food or something like that, it's expired. So they end up wasting money on things like that. I've had some that have missed certain deadlines. So they end up paying more for something because in some ways it's because they didn't know they needed to pay it. It's a bill that they didn't know. So something got turned off. So then there's a reactivation fee. So they end up spending extra money on things like that. And there's also some of it is just missed opportunities. I had actually a friend who had an opportunity to engage in an investing action. And it was basically a matter of she needed to open her mail to see that she had it. And she didn't do it. So she missed out on something that could have been very financially beneficial for her at that time.
Yeah. So there, hopefully you ladies see the direct correlation between being organized, being able to access important documents, kind of having the system so that you don't miss opportunities if things come in the mail, and how it relates to your financial success. So you just wanted to make sure, since, the rest of the topics in the Thank Me Later system are very clearly directly related to finances. So next month, we're going to talk about saving and retirement and investing. And the next month will be about credit. And so we wanted to, in the spirit of spring cleaning too, with March, and approaching a new season, we definitely wanted to take some time for us to get organized. as it's something that's going to impact our finances, but really impacts the quality of our life overall.
Yeah, very true.
All right, so next up, I'm going to share my screen again, kind of going back and forth. So thank you guys for your patience there. Okay, so all of this leads us to our March money mantra, which is a money affirmation. And this affirmation this month is, organization is the key ingredient in my financial success. So let's say that again. I like to say affirmations a few times. I like to add some different tone to my voice and put emphasis into different points to just really kind of get it in my spirit. So organization is the key ingredient in my financial success. And if you have another money affirmation that resonates with you, feel free to share that in the chat. Or if you feel this one, put a high five, drop an emoji so we know that you feel that one. So that's our money mantra. And then we always try to anchor our months in a song or a lyric just to kind of change the energy around money, because organization and some financial topics is not what we always want to talk about. So I'm trying to make it a little lighthearted here. So our anchor lyric this month is from Usher's Confessions, because we're keeping it honest. These are our confessions. And so our part 2 is going to be next week during the paper confessions working session that we're going to have, which leads us to, we'd love for you to share your paper confession. So Jini shared hers on her social media. I'll be sharing mine this weekend. This is a little bit of my clutter. This is what's a little more appropriate than what I could have showed y'all. And so if you want to be a part of our paper confessions and we can share your before and afters, feel free to tag us on your Instagram story, tag TML Money, and we will repost that. We say Instagram story, so you don't got to put all your business on your Instagram feed, because that's not cute to have a clutter of papers. So feel free to engage with us there. Okay, so another Mentimeter question: what has kept you from getting and staying organized? So now we're going to get to some of the meat of it. So again, log into minty.com, use the code. Some of the things that might have kept you from getting organized: not knowing where to start, having a cluttered environment, not having a system to maintain, feeling overwhelmed, not knowing when to discard papers. So if you guys could chime in there and let us know. I'm going to say a cluttered environment, not having a system, and feeling overwhelmed. I think for me, there's a lot of different parts of being organized, and me working in social media, I have way too many photos on my phone that I need to clean up. So that's going to be for another conversation. Okay, so we have a lot of folks saying not knowing when to discard paper. We're definitely going to address that today when we talk about how long to keep certain documents, and it's also in the handout in the community. Not having a system to maintain. Carolyn has something for us there. Cluttered environments, not knowing where to start, feeling overwhelmed. So it looks like kind of we all feel a lot of these areas. We have something in common there. And so now I'm going to cue it up to Carolyn to talk about what is a paper management system and how to create one. All right, Carolyn, the floor is yours.
Okay, so basically, a paper management system is a system is basically a set of procedures and tasks that works for a common purpose. So when we talk about paper, it's for the sake of whatever you do, and sometimes it has several steps that leads up to you being able to manage the papers that you have. And that looks different for everyone. There's not a right or a wrong way to do it. There's not a formula, if you do this, then that, then your paper will be magically organized. It's a very personal thing. Everybody doesn't think the same way. So what one person does may not work for another. Quick story. in my early days of organizing, of course, we all start organizing our families first. That's like our first clients is always family, because it's usually free people. So I decided that I was going to organize my mother's paper. I bought her a filing cabinet. I got folders. I laid everything out. And I can tell you right now to this day, the only thing in that filing cabinet is the things that I put in there, and she has not touched them since. So I put all this effort into this system because that's how I was thinking. That's how my brain worked at the time. But I found out the hard way that my mother's a stacker. So she works better with small piles of things that she kind of lays out and she knows where they are. Some people use, they work better rather than having file folders, they work better with binders. It just depends on, sometimes it depends on the space that you have available, and sometimes it just depends on how you know best that you're going to find something. But one thing to remember is that it's not so much how you do it as doing it consistently. Forming the habits that it takes to create your system, like to maintain your system. It's if you can't maintain it, then there's almost no point in doing it. So you have to have a plan for doing that as well. One thing I'd like to point out is that in most cases, as adults, the paper that we have to handle usually comes into our homes in the form of mail. Every now and then you may go somewhere and someone will hand you something that you want to keep or hang on to, but for the most part, we have to create a system around dealing with our mail. So, and oftentimes with clients, that is the paper that I'm organizing for them is typically bags or boxes or a corner piled with mail that they haven't opened, that they haven't answered, they don't know what to do with, or something like that. So figuring out the steps of first of all, how do you pick up your mail? How often do you pick up your mail? Like, I'm mildly obsessed with mail, so I check my mail every day that I can. But a lot of people don't do that. Or mail is not as accessible, like someone that has everything sent to a post office box. So working through the process of what you're going to do when something comes in, through the steps, the phases that it takes. Some things should go into the trash right away. Some things you have to do something with it, so you can't quite put it away. So basically working through the steps of how to get from start to finish, or should I say start to storage, if it's something that you're going to keep in regards to paper. So things that you should keep in mind when you're creating your system is that you need to figure out where you're going to put it, in the form of where it's going to be. That can be a desk, that can be a file cabinet, that can be an accordion file, folders, whatever it is. Figure out, be honest with yourself. Like, we like pretty file folders. They make really nice file folders now, but all of us are not file folders people. So try to really think about how you would look for something in the end. Get rid of the unnecessary paper, because that's how things build up on us and we become overwhelmed. And get rid of it as soon as possible. Figure out how to not get unnecessary paper. And that includes, I'm going to go with magazines, because that was an issue for me. I thought I was going to be a magazine reader. I had subscriptions and everything. I had a pile of magazines left and right. So the reality is, I don't read magazines. That's not how I get information. So I needed to figure out how to stop getting that paper, figure out how to get off of mailing lists, things like that. And that works for digital as well, by the way. Try to figure out how to not receive it at all, especially if it's not something that you typically look like. And that can apply to bills, that can apply to banking and credit card statements. If that's not how you look at it, you can click a button to say, don't send it to me. And then most important, create a method for retrieval, because if you can't find it or don't know you have it, then it's not useful to you.
That's super helpful. And I'm curious to know, what's your personal paper management system? What type of paper person are you? You said that are you like the file folder type of gal?
I'm primarily paperless, meaning, you have to have some paper. There's some things you have to have in paper form. You have to have your birth certificates, passports, things like that. But I don't keep anything in paper form that I don't have to. So most things I either try to make sure that I receive it digitally, or if it's something that I can't receive digitally, like something that, like, I have one of my utility companies is like totally archaic. They don't even offer anything but paper. So they always
Okay.
send me a mail. So I just get it scanned, and I keep all of my things in a digital file system. So, and keep in mind, you can set up a digital file system the same as you would do a folder system, all the same things, a variety of folders and everything like that. So,
Mhm.
so basically this is I kept it here. This is my paper management system for most things.
Wow,
So
you got it down to a little external hard drive.
a little external, well, okay.
Amazing.
Now the key to that is backups. This is my backup. I have it
Okay.
on my computer, but this is my backup, or one of my backups. I keep several backups.
Okay.
So
Love
I'm
that.
primarily digital, but for the things that I do have to keep in paper form, a lot of things that you have listed in the packet that is this month's download, the
Mhm.
things that I do have to keep in paper form, I have a folder basically, and,
Right.
it's a relatively small area. Like I keep these documents, the documents that you have listed are things that I usually refer to as life documents.
Mhm.
It's the thing you grab if your house catches fire. This is what
You
you
know what
grab.
to grab. Yep.
This is how you're going to restart your life after that fire. So
Mhm.
everything's in that place. And I know, and those are the things that I typically need when I'm trying to apply for something, when I'm trying to travel, anything like that.
Gotcha. I felt led to share mine. It's not organized though, y'all. So we're still working on it. I started it last year when I when I was working with Jini, and here I am a year later. So I have my binder. This is like
Okay,
my life binder.
there you
Um,
go.
I got cute little tabs, and it's a little blurred, so y'all can't see it all. But and I have the structure. I'm missing some steps. Okay. But I got the tabs, I got the folders, I have the sections for like life insurance and car insurance, and I own a house. So all of my renovations. One
Thanks.
day I'm gonna finish it though. This month, not one day. I gotta
This
go.
month, next week, we're gonna finish it next week.
Woo, next week. Okay. I'm gonna bring mine. You guys bring yours. We're gonna get it together. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Carolyn. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll talk about some of the barriers that might be blocking you guys from really getting organized and staying organized. Um, so share my screen here. All right. So these are some of the barriers that we noticed. Carolyn, definitely chime in based on ones that you've seen. But there's physical barriers. So feeling overwhelmed by the amount of paper to organize, especially if you have like stacks of mail, having a very cluttered environment, not having the right tools. So to Carolyn's point, not knowing if you're more of a file cabinet, file folders, binder type of person. So some of those are physical barriers that might be preventing you from getting organized for good and staying organized. There could be mental barriers such as fear of failing, like you're super concerned that something's going to slip through the cracks, feeling overwhelmed at the many ways to get organized and the different systems needed for each. That's me. So you need a system and organization for paper and for your digital folders and your email. It's a lot. And then there also might be some emotional barriers that you're experiencing, such as feeling emotionally attached to your papers or worrying that if you throw something away, you might need it. So you hoard it. So those are some of the barriers. Carolyn, are there any that are not reflected here that you've seen with your clients? Or is there one in particular here that you've seen a lot?
Um, One thing that I say I've seen a lot, in regards to physical barriers, I would say is that um, people sometimes get into situations where, well, let me go back, give a better explanation. There's different types of disorganization. Some of it is situational, some of it is chronic. Some people never really learn how to organize, and they were never taught that it was an important thing to do. So that's kind of leads to like a chronic. They just don't really know how to do it, and it's
Mhm.
there. But then there's situational. I have some clients that I can tell that at some point they were organized,
Mhm.
and that something happened in life. Usually it can be something with health, something with a family member, something with work, where things built up and they just became overwhelmed. And they didn't know how to start, and they didn't know how to dig themselves out of it. And then on the other spectrum, oftentimes if I've had clients that are just disorganized in other areas, and paper was, in their minds, paper was the least of their worries. Meaning I can't reach X, Y, and Z. I've got a closet full of clothes that I can't get to because of the things that's in front of it. I'm not that concerned about this paper, even though, in my opinion, I feel like the first thing that you should organize is your paper. Your paper is probably it's the thing that's most likely to cost you the most money in regards to losing something and whatnot. And just a little tidbit for everyone out here: paper and clothes are two of the things that can make your any space look worse than it actually is. So if you have a pile of paper and a pile of clothes, if you pick those things up, I'm not saying hide them, but don't hide them. But if you handle those two things first, paper being the most important, then it'll change the look of your space altogether. And visual clutter is stressful because it makes you feel like you always have something to do. In which case that leads to a lot of people wanting to hide it, cover it up, put it in a box and never deal with it. Bags of mail, things like that. So that's as far as physical. As far as like the emotional aspects of it. One thing I find is that a lot of people that was surprising to me as I started organizing more and more people, is that there are a lot of people that have a feeling of shame when it comes to the disorganization, be it clutter or anything else. They feel like they're not functioning as adults very well if they can't do this. This is simple. This isn't rocket science. I should be able to do this. And realistically, I've been pushing the idea, as an organizer, is that you don't have to be good at everything. You just need to be good enough for yourself. And oftentimes we think that people are watching us and they're not. That's like going to like a dance class or something at the gym. You're thinking, oh, I kind of want to do it because people are going to see me do X, Y, and Z. They're not looking at you. They're trying to figure out what they're doing for themselves.
Focus on themselves. They're not.
Yeah. So we often put a bit of emotional pressure on ourselves in regards to organization. A lot of it is in our own minds as opposed to what's happening with someone else. And then, of course, the last one, I don't know what to get rid of. I don't know what's important. There was a time when paper was more important than it actually is. So now we're getting into an increasingly digital world. So
yeah.
So oftentimes we want to hang on to paper, and just because, somebody gave it to me, I need to keep it just in case I need to go to it. But realistically, that's not how we're going to look for that information later. Like, I know that oftentimes my first step is to, I want to find that out. Let me log in online and see what I'm going to do.
Right. We're just digging through a pile of paper.
Right. Exactly. Or trying to remember where it is. So, right. And it's about creating habits. It's about creating habits.
Yeah. We have some folks in the chat chiming in saying it's so true. I didn't think about the shame. Jini chimed in. Welcome, Jini. She said she's felt shame when organizing, and Patty said she's very true. I started with one area before moving to the next. It was hard because I'm a multitasker, but I had to stick to it to get it done. So you definitely would recommend, Carolyn, starting with paper, getting a good system for that, and then moving to digital or other areas?
Yeah, I would, because I think paper it has the biggest impact on the biggest impact on our lives in regards to what we can do. Like knowing it's about information. Think of it as information. Paper is information. So we're in an information age, and having the right information that you need at the right time is very important in regards to finances, in regards to care of your family, care of yourself. So information is important. That's why there's so much money invested in IT, information technology. So paper is like the original IT.
Yeah. Never thought about it like that. But it's so true. It's like now it's just a new way of receiving information and sharing it.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for that, Carolyn. So now we're going to have another Minty question.
I like these.
Right. Aren't they so fun? So the next one, again, if you're just joining, you go to minty.com and type in this code. What would help you get and stay organized? So the key here is to create life change, long time change. So what do you need for that? Accountability, as we saw in the clip with Jini earlier. She and Cheryl, her assistant, she had meetings on the schedule. So we had accountability, we had uninterrupted time to do the work. Carolyn mentioned earlier a phased approach to organization, not feeling like you need to tackle it all at once. I think I kind of put this one here for me, a fun vibe. Okay, where is the wine and the candles in the playlist? Because if it's not there, I'm not motivated to do it. And then cute storage options, so cute file folders, a nice file cabinet, things like that. So looks like a lot of folks feel like they need uninterrupted time to do the work, which is so important. And in the Thank Me Later handout for the month, we are recommending 2 to 8 hours this month, but break it up in time blocks, but scheduling that, putting that in your calendar when you're going to do this uninterrupted work. You can schedule an hour next Wednesday at 7 p.m. during Paper Confessions working session. But also, that's not going to be enough time to get everything done. So that could be your first hour, and then you can schedule some other time.
I don't think a fun vibe is getting the credit that it deserves. Okay, here's the thing. Oftentimes we avoid things that we hate doing. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't make us happy, it's the easiest thing to put on the back burner. But if you can figure out how to make something fun, then by all means, it'll happen.
I had to go in there and add that one.
I know, if you need wine and snacks, go for it. Anything that makes it feel better.
Exactly, whatever it takes. Thank you guys for chiming in there. So overcoming these barriers. So we kind of just talked through a few of these. But Carolyn, are there any other ones? I'm just gonna make this bigger. Canva's hating on you, girl. But so we have accountability, scheduling uninterrupted time to do the work, setting realistic goals and taking a phased approach, creating the vibe, knowing how long to keep important documents, which is in the handout, and we're going to kind of skim through some of those today if we have time. Carolyn, is there anything else that you think helps people get and stay organized aside from these that's listed here and the system that you talked about earlier?
I think the only things that I would add to this list would be remember to be kind to yourself about it.
I love that.
We beat ourselves up about all kinds of things about, how did I get here, out of whatever. Remember to be kind and patient with yourself about getting to where you need to be. I think that even if it takes you a long time to get it all done, that it's worth the journey. Getting there is worth it. So, and the most important thing is not giving up. Sometimes you might find that the system that you thought would work didn't. So that doesn't mean don't do it at all. That just means, okay, try something else.
Just experiment. Yeah.
I thought my mother needed files. She does not. So I figured out how to make her piles work for her. So
and curious to know about the piles. How did you even find that was her system? So if somebody is kind of like, I don't even know what my system is, like, what are some of the things that they can take note from themselves to kind of determine what might be set best for their system, even though they're going to, try out different things.
Kind of look at, most times the system would correlate somehow to how you find your things now, or how you barely find your things now. Meaning, if you, I know some people who, or I've come across some people who they keep several different things in several different places, but it's in an envelope wherever it is, or it's in a box wherever it is. So there's some piece of how you think of how you store it, find it now, or barely find it now. If you're not putting it in a file system, because there are some people, now here's another thing, there's some people that actually do use files, but they have too many files. Like everything has its own file. So it kind of takes away the, the point of having a filing system. So kind of think about your first thoughts when you're looking for something. As in, I'm looking for my birth certificate. Will that be on my desk? It might be in your desk, but it might be in a different drawer every time, something like that. So then that kind of tells you that, my desk is probably a good place to put the things that I have. Or some things, the problem with some stacks is that people just have too many. How do I consolidate some of those stacks so I have fewer places to look for something? Or they have too many stacks in different places. So how do I find a space to consolidate those stacks?
Put them all together. Yeah.
Put them all together. If say I'm putting something in an accordion folder, sometimes it comes down to labeling. There's been plenty of times where I found a folder that I thought was empty, but it's got something important in it. So it's like they didn't label it, but it was in a folder, but it wasn't labeled, or it wasn't labeled, or wasn't in the folder that it should have been in. So a lot of times when you're establishing, kind of ask yourself questions of, how would I look for this? If I were looking for it, how would I look for it? Or where would I look? And oftentimes that'll be the place to do it, place where you would want to keep it.
Gotcha. That's super helpful. I got to be thinking about my system.
It's not, you started off with a folder, a binder, it looks like. So
yeah, first start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got to do something about this mail, but we're going to get there. That's what Paper Confessions is for next Wednesday. Okay. All right. So we have one more slide for Carolyn. If you want to talk through just other tips for paper management, and then we can kind of zip through how long to keep important documents. I'll kind of call out some of them, but again, the handout is available in the community, and I saw that Lauren has been dropping it in the chat. So because we saw a question in the community about how long to keep documents from the IRS. So want to make sure that's addressed, but it is available in the community if we don't get to spend a good amount of time on that, because we do want to open it up for Q&A. So I'm going to share this last screen and this last slide, and then Carolyn will take Q&A. All right. Floor is yours, Carolyn.
Reducing paper that comes to you. Yes, get off a mailing list. Same thing. I told you about the magazines. Find that I don't read it. Opening mail near a trash bin or shredding or wherever it is. That's another significant thing, because oftentimes if we're not in a place where we can instantly get rid of something, then it's likely to pile up, and then you forgot, okay, but this is a pile of what? Like, okay, what was this a pile of? I got to look through it again. Bills and statement. I can't tell you how many times I come across, a lot of times when I'm helping people go through their mail, we have a stack of credit card statements that have never been opened. We have a stack of bank statements and things like that have never been opened, or phone bills and things like that they've never opened. So it's like, you don't receive your information this way. So meaning into your mind. This is not how you receive this information. So let's stop receiving it physically. Just because if it's never opened, then it's useless. And maintaining your paper management system, like determine how often you're going to do it. I don't expect anybody to be obsessed with mail like I have been. Okay, I'll explain my mail obsession. Our mailbox used to be across the street, and I felt like a big girl because I can cross the street and go and get the mail. So I became obsessed with going to the mailbox And God forbid if there was a letter in there for me, it just made my day. That was actually one of my first jobs. The lady down the street, a couple doors down, was a senior citizen, and she didn't want to cross the street to get the mail, so she would pay me $1 to go and pick up her mail. So anyway.
Oh wow, it was embedded in you from early
I know.
age.
Like, I always got another job. So, but determine how frequently you're going to do it, or how frequently you need to do it. Some people can get away with doing it like once a week, once a month, once a quarter. Or some people need triggers for knowing when they need to do it, like payday. There are some things that I do once I pay bills when I get paid. So, and that can be the same thing for your mail. Something that happens regularly that would trigger you to do the mail. And that's kind of like a way of making the habit. A lot of things now have dates on them, so you can kind of see how long you've had something. But if something comes in without a date on it, put the date of either when you received it or when you put it into the file. Because oftentimes we have things like, say, warranties or something like that, I still have that computer, but I've had it for 20 years and this warranty is no longer good. There's no need for me to keep this paper information regarding that warranty. Or oftentimes we have things that we don't realize how long we've had it.
Right.
And then if all else fails, a clean out day, because we naturally accumulate things, paper, clothes, items, whatever it is. We naturally accumulate things, but we don't often naturally eliminate. We don't often naturally purge. So if you take a time to say that I need to make space for all this paper that's coming in, because I'm determining regularly when I'm putting paper in there, but I don't need to keep things all the time. So based on the how long you keep it, guidelines, I'm going to call them guidelines or recommendations, not guidelines. Let's call them recommendations. How long you keep something, schedule some time that you're going to pull things out and either shred it or dispose of it, whatever is the proper way to do that.
Yes, thank you for that. That's super helpful. And these slides will be available in the community when we post a replay of this session. So definitely check that out. And then I'm just going to zip through these how long to keep important documents, and we'll open it up for Q&A. So some of the documents that you want to keep forever are your birth certificate, your family's birth certificate, death certificates, social security cards, passports, marriage license, wills, power of attorney, insurance policies, things like that. You want to keep those forever. And again, this is in the handout and will be available and is in the community now, but these slides will be available. So you want to keep while you own anything related to your real estate. That may be property deeds, mortgage documents, closing documents, receipts of home improvement projects, documents as it relates to your vehicles, so titles, your purchase or lease documents, your auto insurance policy, receipts of major repairs. You want to keep some household items. So if it's a warranty for your refrigerator, operating instructions for certain items, and then financial documents you want to keep, such as benefits information, keep them while you have those benefits. And then important documents to keep for 7 years. So the rule of thumb for documents that are related to your taxes are 3 years, but the IRS could go back and audit up to 7 years. So for good measure, you might want to keep your tax returns, W-2s, 1099s, etc. for 7 years. For 1 year, you want to keep your bank and credit card statements, investment statements, any medical bill statements that you've paid, financial aid if your student is in college, and then less than a year, monthly bills such as your cell phone utilities. So you can get rid of those. And then we want to save the date. So, plug and usher again, these are our confessions. So we're going to have our working session next Wednesday. Carolyn will be back. So excited to have you back, Carolyn. This will be on Instagram Live, but also available in the community. We will be streaming live in the Thank Me Later community. So you can log into thankmelater.money. And the reason why we're doing both is in the event that you do not have an Instagram, we don't want you to miss this. So this will be a working session. Again, bring your file folders, bring your binder. If you think you're a binder type of girl, I'll have mine. Bring your papers, just kind of be prepared to do the work. Again, this session today has been all about our mindset and, the energy that we want to bring into organizing to create longstanding change. But next Wednesday, we are rolling up our sleeves. We are getting paper cuts if we have to. We are doing the work. So starting to do the work. Again, it's to Carolyn's point, it's a process. You want to take a phased approach. So we want to really kick off next Wednesday and have that accountability and be there for each other. And then we'll, go on and continue the work throughout the month. So definitely save the date for this upcoming event. It is RSVP. You can RSVP in the community just so that you get the notification. And then your homework is to get what you need. So if it's file folders, if it's compiling all your papers, whatever it is, getting that in preparation for next Wednesday's session. Because again, we want it to be a working session. Carolyn will be coaching us through, how to create our systems, sharing tips as we do the work, but we definitely want to make that a very tactical working session. And then if you want to be a part of our paper confessions and share your before and after with us, join our organization challenge. You can take a picture of your papers. I'm gonna take a picture of my hot mess of a binder so that we can see the final product and how Carolyn helped me get my life together. So, and then download the guide. So this is just a screenshot of what's inside. So we share a lot of great information in our monthly handouts to guide you through the work that we do each month. So this is, supplementing what the sessions are, this live session and next week's sessions. But this is, how you can get the work done yourself. Feel free to share this download with your community and, other folks who may not be a part of the Thank Me Later community. All right. I'm done talking now, and I'll stop sharing my screen. And I'll look and see in the chat if we have some questions. I do remember seeing a question from Ani about, is there a quick way to reduce junk mail? And sorry if I skipped anybody. I just remember seeing that. So I'll hop back to the top.
A quick way to reduce junk mail. I'll have to dig up these resources. There are some websites that you can go to help get you off of certain mailing lists so that you don't receive, how sometimes you get like the coupon mailers and whatever, and you never look at those things.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of different service options that you can use to get off of those type of lists. There also, a lot of times when you sign up for things, even signing up for things online, you can opt out of receiving both email and physical mail. Like, for example, a place where I've shopped, let's say New York and Company or something like that. They'll send coupons and whatnot. I'm not a coupon person in some things, or I don't shop often enough to use the coupons that come. So it's helpful to me to not receive that as mail. And that's something that's an option that, I can opt not to receive physical and digital mail in that aspect. So you can get off a certain mailing list. There are certain things that we get that we can instantly recognize as junk mail. Something that I know I get all the time that I never open. I just go ahead and put that in the recycling right away. Even if you don't, it's worthwhile to do a preliminary sort on your mail when it comes in. A lot of times we get so much mail, it's like, okay, I don't really have time to go through this. I don't have time to read it all. Try not to think of it as I have to address all of this right now, but I can eliminate the things that I know is junk right away. So at least I know that gives me a little bit more time in how fast something is going to pile up. If there's something that I know I'm not going to use, I know I'm not going to need, I know I'm not going to, that you can tell right away, then right away get rid of it. And then open everything else at your regularly scheduled handling time.
Yeah. Yeah, that has been really helpful for me of like, because I kind of live in two different places. So my real mail goes to my home that I own, and I live in an apartment. So I'll just like bring everything back and kind of filter through it and be like, I'm gonna get back to this later. But I know this is junk mail that can go. So that's
Right.
super helpful. All right, we have another question from Kim. She asks, how do you recommend keeping down receiving mail from charities? I like to sometimes donate either electronically or by mail, but I hate getting all the follow-up mail or emails.
That's a that's a tough one. I think that you can request that they don't send you things. Usually there's an opt-out function, or opt-out something, but if all else fails, you may need to either call or write or something like that to request that, hey, I want to continue to donate to you, but it's not helpful to me to receive all of this information. It's a little bit difficult with charities because they're trying to raise money for something. So they often, it's like once you're on their mailing list, there's a charity that I donated to 20 years ago, and they still send me stuff.
Mhm.
So luckily I'm not overwhelmed, that it doesn't bother me, but that's the charities is an especially tough one because it's kind of like, oh, you've given to us before, I can get you to do it again.
Yeah.
So that may take several attempts of either opting out online or calling or putting it in writing in some way.
Gotcha. And then I have a question. I know we've been talking about paper organization, and we're going to share content so you guys can stay tuned for that about digital organization. But Carolyn, how do we start with digital? Like, where do I start? Like, let's give us a little tidbit, a little teaser. How do we even get started back in the beast of the digital files?
Okay.
Tiana, let
Yep.
me interrupt you for 1 second. Hey, everybody, it's Jini. The session has been amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Maybe I've been hiding in the back because this is the area that I struggle with the most, right? But that was my excuse. I was saying that it was because I had to do something with my son. Maybe it was my confession. I couldn't handle the pressure of this session. But Carolyn, when you answer this, please respond to Tiana's question. But I also want to know, which one do you think you should do first? Should you focus on paper first, or should you focus on digital first?
Now that is a tough one. Especially with me being someone who mixes the two. I lump it all as information. So be it paper or digital, I lump it all as information. Okay, so starting off with Tiana's question, the way to start with handling digital is email. Email is your electronic mailbox. It's the same as mail. So you have to determine how you're going to handle it when it comes in. A lot of that is the same thing, getting off of mailing lists. Oftentimes when we purchase something online, there's a little box when you're signing up for something and creating one of many thousand passwords that you have to make. There's usually a little checkbox to say, hey, I want you to send me emails and marketing and everything like this about it. And that box is checked for you as a default. Sometimes it's a matter of going in and unchecking that box because I don't want my mailbox flooded with it. Some of it is, if you're someone who monitors your email frequently, you might notice that there's something that you don't open. You just don't open it at all. So then they often have unsubscribe buttons somewhere in there. So basically, you kind of have in your mind what you actually pay attention to in your email. So the other things, unsubscribe from those lists if you can, be it by going directly to them or in the email that's there to do it, unsubscribe from that list. And then the other thing is, email, unlike paper, is easy to ignore. I've come across plenty of clients who's had 20,000 unopened messages in their email box, and they can't find the one that I know this came, but I can't remember what day it came. So it's easy to ignore it. So that's another thing. Along the same lines, set up some specific time to check your email. Like, I'm going to check my email once a day. I treat email much like I treat mail. I'm obsessed with it. So,
I love that for you.
yeah, it's where I maintain like 5 different email accounts, and they're all empty right now. But well, here's something, not to scare anybody. Email is just as important to check, especially once you get cleaned up and you get off of mailing lists and everything. Here's something that happened to me once. Because I'm obsessed with email, because I keep all of my mailboxes pretty clean, I can tell when I'm getting too much email. So check my email instead of playing Candy Crush. Check my email, and then I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and I had literally, and I'm not exaggerating, 50,000 emails in this one account. And I said, what is this about? It was like an email tornado. And since my account is clean, I noticed it. I was like, oh, that's not right. So my original temptation was to just delete everything. All right, I'm just gonna miss some things, delete everything. But something told me not to. So I went through and deleted things 100, 200 at a time, did a quick scan of what it was, made sure that it was junk. And then on like maybe somewhere in the middle, one of the pages in the middle, there was an email from my cell phone provider saying that I had ordered 2 iPhones. And I was like, this looks real. Let me look. And when I checked, went to the account on another page, someone had ordered 2 iPhones on my account and buried in a tornado of emails. Whereas most normal people probably would have either not noticed that they had all of these emails, or they would have gone through and done the thing that I initially thought to do, was just delete everything or ignore it. And iPhones, I mean, everything else is caught up, but phones are expensive.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how, and they ordered 2 of them. So there are lots of things, there's lots of, ways that people have figured out how to scam and make money. So you want to pay just as much attention to your email as you pay to your physical mail, because there's still, there's opportunities that can be missed, and there's also scams that can be missed in there.
I feel seen, Carolyn.
Now, to Janai's question, which one is more important? The one that I would say is the most important is if you can figure out the one where you typically receive the most information. Meaning, like, since I am primarily paperless, I don't get a lot of mail. I don't get a lot of physical mail anymore. So it's easy for me to prioritize digital because that's how I get most of my information. So I would probably, if I was forced to choose between the 2, I would focus on the one that is where I tend to look to for most of my information.
Gotcha. I got some work to do this month. I don't see any other questions, but Patty, thank you for chiming in. She sharing her. I feel like Patty is organized. I feel like she got her life together. Love it for you, Patty. Patty said, paper and digital works for me. I get the paper out of the way first. Also, a lot of the paper documents must be scanned. If I start on the computer, I'll get caught up and lose focus. She said, great advice, what you were saying earlier. Start with the volume that comes in. And retired military. Thanks for your service, Patty. You got your life together. Georgia asked, should I invest in a document scanning machine?
I would say yes, if you intend to go digital, if you intend to be primarily digital. But it may not be worthwhile if you figure out how to get most of your things sent to you digitally anyway. Like, if you get statements, you can download them. If you find that you download more things than you actually get physical, then you can probably get away with going to a scanning service, going someplace to have it scanned if it's something that you don't expect to do frequently. And some of that could just be the difference in the type of machine that you get can be dependent on what type of scanning you intend to do. I personally do a lot of scanning for myself, for clients, things like that. So I have several different scan double-sided 10, 20 pages at a time scanners. So it was worth the investment for me. But if you think that, I'm just going to have a few things to scan here and there, you can have a printer that's multifunction that'll do the scanning at the level that you need. You don't necessarily have to invest in anything really significant for that. In the case of some people have a lot of receipts that they'd like to have scanned, it may be worthwhile if you believe that you're going to have a lot of receipts that you want to keep and that you want to have scanned, then it may be worthwhile to get like a small scanner that handles receipts. But again, if that's not something that if you're willing to have those things taken to a service and get it all done and not do it yourself, then it may be worthwhile to have a service do it rather than trying to plan to do it yourself. And then the other aspect of that is being realistic. Are you going to do it yourself? Like, and it's okay if that answer is no. Again, we don't have to be superheroes about everything. Like there's something that I've had a client tell me, she's like, you know what, I can do this, I just don't want to. So I call you because I don't want to. I would rather spend my time doing something else. So if it's something that you feel like you can outsource and you can afford to outsource it, then by all means, you'll figure out how to use that time in something else that's more beneficial for you.
I love that you said that because there's no shame about it. Like there's other things you could be doing if you can.
I'm seeing in the chat also, there are scanning apps on your phone. There are. But if you don't want to, there are things that you can take a picture on your phone and it'll scan it it'll basically treat it like a scan to a PDF. So that's another thing. If you don't think you're going to have a lot, then that may be something worth doing there too.
Yeah, and to that note, for those who haven't looked in the chat, Georgia said, I have used a scan app, CamScan, but am afraid that it could possibly be infiltrated. Are my fears unnecessary? And with that, I would say, Georgia, I'm no expert. Carolyn's an expert here, but if I was chiming in, maybe like use that app for things that are not like confidential, that you wouldn't be worried about, and then maybe take the route that Carolyn was suggesting about getting it professionally scanned. I don't know if that's not what you called it, but go into a scanning service.
The scanning here's the thing. A lot of things are, because what she's talking about is what I'm gathering from what she's asking is that these things scan, but in order to get it off of your phone, it has to go into a cloud. Which is oftentimes what has happened in more recent years is that hackers are no longer hacking people specifically, they're hacking services, they're hacking the places that we do business with, they're hacking the clouds. So a lot of times people are afraid of the clouds. So one way to combat that is to if you're going to use any type of cloud services and the scan, because the only way that you're going to get it from your phone to this computer is through a cloud pretty much. Well, that's not true. If you set it up that it stays on your phone, you can plug directly into your phone to get it transferred to your computer. It doesn't have to go through a cloud, but oftentimes nowadays things default to a cloud service. So sometimes it's figuring out how to make it so that it doesn't do that and then getting to plug directly into your phone to do that. But if you do use a cloud service, I would say the way that I use clouds, because I'm old school enough that I don't like leaving anything that's significant on any of Google Drives, Dropbox, anything like that. I use it basically as a transfer. So I might upload something to a cloud, but then I'm taking it off. Now, clouds tend to have backups and whatnot, but hopefully, in theory, they've invested a whole lot more into security so that people can't get into them as easily. So I haven't heard too much, and I usually pay attention to news about these types of things. I haven't heard too much about too many of the cloud services being hacked overall. Most times, if people get into them, they figure out how to get into them in like some other internet security. Like they know, these businesses are paying more attention to security now,
Mhm.
more
Good.
than they used to.
Gotcha. Well, that's helpful. Awesome. I think that's all the questions. I did see that Teresa had a question about scanners earlier, and we talked about that a bit. So we can wrap up. Thank you, ladies, for joining. Thank you, Carolyn. So much knowledge and inspiration.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna have my stuff on external hard drive like you. Um, so thank you guys so much for joining us, and stay tuned for the replay of this, which will be available in the community along with the slides. Lauren dropped in Carolyn's website, theneatnerd.com. That's right, Carolyn?
yes.
I don't want to get wrong. Okay. Follow her on Facebook, and she newly started on Instagram.
I confess I'm terrible about social media. Instagram is new, so
I said she's up there. Let me tag her in the post. So follow her, and be sure to save the date for next Wednesday's session, Paper Confessions. It's going to be great. Again, it'll be on Instagram Live and in the community, and we want you to be prepared to do the work. Do the work. Today, we talked about our feelings and, got in the right mindset, but on Wednesday, it's time to get it done. Okay. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you again, Carolyn. You were so amazing.
Thank you.